maybe, but.
Okay, we're live.
Yeah, amazing. Excited to be here, guys.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so, Ben, of course. I'm not sure if you guys do pre-intro, so you may fix that, but.
See how good our editing skills
Yeah,
are.
exactly. We'll find out in post. A few years ago, I started a company called Chexy, so we're coming up on 4 years now. I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm the CTO, so take care of everything technical, and work very closely with our product leads to ultimately make sure that our visions come to life. So Chexy, fintech company. We're based here in Toronto. We've been through a few rounds of venture financing now. And we operate in the credit card reward space, and now migrating a little bit more towards a general purpose household wallet, bill payments. When we started the company, a few years ago, we were really focusing on a very specific facet, which was rent. And kind of our goal at the time, a little bit goofy, but was can we make renting suck less? That was kind of the first kind of idea. And so we built out a payments platform that allowed users to pay their rent online with a credit card in order to get points and cash back. And then we later partnered with Equifax to be able to report those rent payments to help boost credit scores. So the thinking there was, for most Canadians, it's obviously still true now. Roughly, I think you guys might know these stats better than I do, but at the time it was about 60% of Canadians were renters, and on average 60% of take-home income was going towards rent, which is nuts. You guys remember the rental prices a few years ago. It's gone down a little bit, but for most folks, this is their biggest expense by far, and obviously a roof over your head is not nothing, but financially it wasn't helping you to get ahead at all, right? There's no rewards you were earning on that. There was no credit score element to that. So we were able to build a platform and scale from there. And over the last couple of years, we've diverted from the rent specific focus and now focusing on being the best place to pay a bill in Canada. And so over the last couple months, we've added features like the ability to pay tuition and taxes, utilities, all these net new categories. So a lot of new exciting things. We've got a lot of things that we're excited about for this year particularly. But yeah, it's been a crazy ride. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit, but hopefully that serves as an okay kind of high level.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
I think just to start off with your background a little bit and tie everything together.
Sure.
So you started U of T as a rocket scientist. I feel like that's, I have to bring it up.
Yeah,
and then
comes up for sure.
And then moving into beach cleaning robots, and then the textbook business. So serial founder.
Yeah.
And then again, still helping people in the home affordability space. What's the tie-in? How'd you get from point A to point B?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the most root, my parents are entrepreneurial, and so I grew up, always seeing my dad go to work for himself and run his own business. And I think I knew I was unemployable probably from a pretty young age. I worked at a sports store for 2 weeks, and I don't think it was going to work out. So, I always kind of had the bug to start something. Had app ideas and website ideas and things like that. And so, I did my undergrad in the U.S. and then I did my master's here at U of T in aerospace engineering, which was quite cool. And so I'm a hardware guy, originally. But I always kind of had the itch and the bug to do something, and there's a few different reasons for that, I'm sure, but excited about the prospect about building something new, going to get new users, building a product that meant something to people, whatever that kind of looked like, and obviously if there's a way to scale that and have some kind of success from that was of course an exciting piece of it as well. And so Sapling was my first I think kind of official startup. We got some funding through the university, which was really cool. So that was my first foray into pitching and trying to put together a product. And the idea was we were going to build an autonomous beach cleaning robot. We had some initial interest from governments, that was kind of the route that we were going, is more the public sector. And so we were, in conversation with the government of India, which is kind of crazy, but so cool. That was, where a big piece of the problem was. So we were getting some of these initial LOIs, but we were talking about it before we started recording, of course. Once we got the funding, we were building robots in my grandparents' garage.
Such a good story.
So
awesome.
me and a couple buddies, and it was cool. It was cool to have somebody write a check for the first time and have that feeling of somebody believes in something that you kind of thought up, and to bring that to like an early MVP. So, I'm sure it's deep in the phone hard drive, but we got some cool photos and videos of ripping down the street for the first time on the robot and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been cool.
Well, I remember in our discussion you mentioned now you're the CTO, but you mentioned no one on your team knew how to code.
Yeah.
You just took it upon yourself.
Yeah.
Could you tell some of the listeners
why
you took it upon yourself?
For sure. I think, obviously background was mechanical and aerospace, so completely hardware. But I think the ideas, like when you're sitting around with your buddies, the ideas that I had and most people have are often half ideas, right? It's like, what if we built this thing and everyone's going to download it? And so we'd be sitting in those rooms and nobody knew how to code, and I figured I can be the guy to learn. So took a few courses online, like nothing official, but just enough to be able to start building some small side projects. This is dating myself now, but no Cursor or Claude Code back in those days, so had to learn how to do everything from scratch. But it was the easiest way to start testing some of those ideas to see what it would be like to actually bring something to life, and that obviously led to startups post Sapling. So there was Bridge, which was in the ed tech space, and so it was essentially like a textbook marketplace platform. It came out of a request for startups essentially from U of T. And again, you learn a lot from each of these different businesses. Like that relied on there are a lot of things wrong with that business. Like I learned a lot from a development standpoint and kind of personal career growth, but the primary customers were students and then universities, both of which are like terrible customers. One has a sales cycle of 6.5 years. It's brutal, and students got $8 to put together. So again, you learn a lot about distribution in the market, and you can have an amazing idea or what you think is an amazing idea. Maybe it even does serve a need, but is there business there? Yeah. I think that's a different thing. So yeah, through each of the businesses, like you pick up. Ideally, you pick up different things and hopefully take the good, recognize the bad, and then piece those together into something that, there's distribution, there's a way to make money, people like it, and you have a path to kind of differentiate yourself.
So how did you land on Chexy?
So I was coming off actually another startup after Bridge, which was in the real estate space, and it was with a couple buddies, and was actually kind of burnt out on the whole thing because it'd been a lot of years of exiting startups not successfully, right? So, it can be tough in those early days trying to get those early users. And I think the thing that I was most excited about was trying to find a good co-founder. That was actually the first piece. I'd started a lot of the businesses with kind of buddies, and I think there's pros and cons to that, most of them being cons. And so I actually went on Y Combinator's co-founder matching platform, which is hilarious. But I met Lisa, who's our CEO, and my co-founder. It's Tinder for co-founders basically, and she was at Square at the time, so she was high up in Payments Canada at Square. And she had the original idea, and Lisa's a fantastic CEO. She's not technical, so was looking for somebody to, really build up that MVP and then ideally scale the team. And so when she first kind of pitched Chexy to me, one of those ideas, and I know we talked about this, but it's kind of like, has nobody done this? Like, it seems ridiculous that nobody has done this yet. And after starting it, you learn all the why and like the barriers to entry, and like there's a lot of reasons why nobody has done it yet. But I think from my previous companies and previous learnings, what really excited me was it just seemed like the story is so obvious. It's a relatively easy sell if you're talking to the right demographic. And obviously there were some hurdles to figure out, but assuming you could figure those out, the path to monetization also made a lot of sense. So the distribution piece was there, the differentiation piece was there, and a real path to like building a consumer base. And we talked about this prior as well, but I think Canada's a very unique marketplace, and I know that's maybe something we'll get into a little bit further, but especially for startups, like when we talk to some of our competitors, maybe in the US, and we talk to VCs and things like that, when you're selling a vision, around the world, in the US specifically, you're talking about 1%, 2% market share and how you're going to penetrate that kind of sector. Canada's so unique in that we have all these like monopolies, oligopolies. Like we kind of joked about it, right? But there's 5 or 6 banks, there's one airline, there's one coffee shop. You can take 30, 40, 50%. And so this just seemed like something that really made sense. Like Canada's quite far behind from a financial technology perspective, and if this was a way to be able to get into that Canadian market and offer something that was clearly missing, it was really exciting. So yeah, I mean that's kind of where everything formulated from, and obviously like we talked about at the beginning, what it looks like now is very different from what it looked like back then. But I think a lot of the core values and the core mission of building something for Canadians to help reward you on your everyday payments, like that has still stayed, kind of as our North Star, right?
No, it's fantastic. Like even just searching you guys up before this, 504 reviews, rating 4.7 out of 5. Like
pretty good.
Very well received by the public.
Yeah.
So I saw on LinkedIn you engaged with the post, but talking with the rebels and the kind of empire. But it's such a good, good post where it was talking about how the conglomerates are the empire, where they control so much ownership here, and to be a startup founder in Canada, it's like being a rebel.
Yeah, there's a lot of blockers, right? And again, we work with the banks and we're having conversations with them a lot, but very similar to real estate and your guys' world, like there are limitations to what you can do as a competitor, quote unquote, and there are reasons for that, right? Like you've got a big market share and you want to be able to maintain that. So we're not trying to directly compete right now by any means. Maybe in a couple of years, we'll see. But for us, it was more just recognizing that there's a gap, and some of that comes back to really the policy and the state of like Canadian rails at its core. Like we don't have real-time rails, we don't have open banking. We're quite a few years behind a lot of the rest of the world really in this regard. And so as much as the infrastructure makes it very challenging, which obviously does, that also provides really open room for opportunity, right? For people that are willing to try to push against those systems and see if there's a way to build something that's novel, or at least novel here, right?
That's so exciting. So kind of talking about that ecosystem, the startup ecosystem.
Yeah.
Is there any policy changes you think should be enacted in Canada, or anything we can do better?
Yeah, I mean that's always a tough question. Yeah, like I think from a government standpoint, you never know. Like I'd love to see Payments Canada move a little bit quicker on real-time rails and open banking, but I know those are conversations that are always happening, and so. It really just becomes like, how far are we going to lag behind, right? And I think the way that Lisa and I have really taken this is, are there ways for us to build regardless, right? Like I think there's a lot of folks and companies and banks that are waiting on these systems to be able to build that, next wave of fintech tools in Canada. We're trying to see, like, is there a way to circumnavigate that? Like, do we need these foundations to be set up to be able to offer, Chexy's version at least of real-time rails or open banking or some of these more modern tools for our consumers? So I think the things, when I think about the Canadian startup ecosystem, the things that need to change are less on government and policy. Like I'm sure there's a piece there, but a lot of it is really like the rhetoric around early stage investing here. Like I think that's quite challenging. I don't think it's any secret that Canada's a lot more risk averse than the U.S. and
we feel it in the real estate sector
100%,
as well. Yeah.
Right? Like, but when we think of both of our previous rounds, like they were led. We have Canadian investors, of course, but they were both led by companies in the U.S. and the U.K. Just because early stage, it's again a bit of a running joke, and I know there are a lot of great people who are working to change that. But they talk a lot about when you're a pre-seed or really early stage company. They want like Series A metrics, but they're going to give you these pre-seed valuations, right? So as a founder of an early stage company, it can be really difficult to get that initial seed money because things are, the traditions here are so risk averse, right? So I think for Canada to really step up on the, and this is nothing new. Like I'm by no means a pioneer of getting people excited about early stage investing here, but
it's working.
And I think
excited.
Those are the things that I think really need to change. It's like finding the companies that are still at their infancy and being willing to take a bet on early stage founders to do something special, right?
Well, talking about that risk, what's your approach to risk taking? Obviously, you started multiple companies.
Yeah.
How do you stomach the risk, and what's your approach?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the reward at the end of the day, right? I think making that decision, you're always balancing what do you want to get out of this, and financial can be one piece of it. Of course, there's a a potential cost loss to doing this and paying yourself nothing for a number of years versus going a traditional corporate route, or having the ability to earn more short-term income. So that's always one. But again, I think it also comes back to like what you want to do, right? To me, the risk for me is more, am I going to work somewhere that I hate and I'm going to be there 30 years and I think that to me is more the risk. And so when I think about taking that risk on myself, it's recognizing what excites me, and for me, that's working with people that are excited to be rebellious, to kind of use that term, and want to do something different here, and have the opportunity to not only just do something special or be a part of something special, but also to have a direct impact on that. Right? Not that you can't do that at a corporation, but it's much harder to steer that ship, especially, we're relatively young guys. I'll group myself in with you too. But there's a chain of command, right? And so yes, you can have an impact, but there's always going to be, impact in your kind of corner, right? And so I think when I think about entrepreneurship and startups in general, being able to bring those visions to life, and to be able to have impact on something, like for me it's riskier to not do that, if that makes sense, just because I know that that's kind of where my passion is, right? And if Chexy did not work out in the early days, or still doesn't work out, I'm sure I'll go do something similar. I think I was always going down with the ship, right? So again, maybe not a great heuristic for most people, but I don't think it comes to, there's no math involved in that for me. It's just, this is what I know I want to do, company building. I love that kind of stuff, and I can't really see myself doing anything else, right? So
building on that a little bit. You touched on this a little bit before we started recording, but you're growing as a company. And yourself and your personality, what do you look for in other people when you're building your team? Yeah,
it's a great question. I think this has changed a lot over the years. I'm a big sports guy, so I'm a sucker for an underdog always, and so my team kind of jokes about it. I now don't make I'm not the single decision maker in our hiring process, of course, but given a startup and knowing what we want to do, I'm looking for people that are looking for their shot, like if I can kind of summarize it that way. So I'm looking for people that are hungry, you got a great attitude, you're really excited, you're coachable. I think those soft skills to me are always the most important. When I hire engineers, for example, 8 out of 10 guys that come through the door are good engineers, and you're good at coding, and I'm sure you'd be able to take the ticket I give you and deliver it well. But when I think about the teams that do something different, like you have that cultural aspect, right? You understand how to push for a goal. You know why we're doing this at your core. And I think similar to the way that, I was talking about that risk piece for myself, I think for people joining the startup, it's the same kind of thing. Like you want to have an impact. You're hungry for somebody to recognize you and make a difference. And those are the people that I've found end up going above and beyond and ultimately build a really great team. Because that's what you're doing, right? Is like you're trying to find that group of people that are going to push a little bit harder. You're going to push that little extra 1%, because I think that's ultimately what makes the difference at the end of the day, right? So I think those soft skills to me, how you show up in the interview, are excited, your attitude seem like you're good. Like it seems like a ridiculous thing, and obviously you guys have I've done interviewing and hiring and stuff like that, but you wouldn't believe the number of people that come through and you look like their dog just died, 2 minutes in the interview, and I get you're nervous, and that's maybe a separate thing, but you got to be excited. Like if you're not excited day one, I think the people that win can stay excited for a long time, and that's a big difference maker. So again, hard to pick that up, obviously, in a 30-minute interview. But my job in the interview process, and Eliza is quite similar as well. We're just kind of doing the vibe check. My engineers are the ones who are going to grill you on the technicals. My job is just to see, does this guy or girl feel like they've got something in them that they want to do something special, and they can make that happen, right?
I really hope all the people that are going to apply for your company
yes.
They're going to become the most motivated.
Get excited,
So
be excited. It's crazy how much of a difference. At the end of the day, when you're leaving an interview, and I've done quite a lot of them, you're operating so much on the gut, right? It's like when I hang up that call, or they come in person, how do I feel when they leave that room? And it's either really excited or kind of meh. It's very rare that something goes very poorly, right? I kind of feel average, or you leave there's something about that guy, right? And a lot of those differentiators are just, were you excited to be here? You feel like you got a good attitude, are you excited about this opportunity? And I think that Again, it's a lot harder, I think, with more senior folks. I think you get beat down a bit in your career, and you're looking for maybe different things out of a company. But early stage, especially, like if you're starting out your first few years out of school, or first couple companies, like the being excited in an interview makes such a difference. Again, I know it seems goofy to elaborate on that, but makes a difference. Yeah.
Going back to that risk kind of taking.
Sure.
There's in an Airbnb interview from the founders, they were talking about how they always identified as like cockroaches.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, even their business failed a million times, they just survived.
Yeah.
Like all they had to do was survive.
Yeah.
But it, to me, is very similar to kind of what you're saying here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go the next step in managing stress.
Sure.
Like obviously, all these different roles, having no money,
Yeah.
trying to start a company, it's stressful.
It's intense.
What do you do? Is there any non-negotiables?
Yeah, I mean, like it's hard. I think you got to be a little bit sadistic at the start, and I think a lot of it comes down to expectation setting, especially in early days. Like you got to know what you're in for, and I think the people that don't last a long time didn't expect that. And people say it's hard, starting a business is hard, and like you hear that all the time. It's very different in practice, obviously, that level of intensity, and so. I think the positive thing with that is I do think it's a muscle that can be trained. When I talk about, Lisa and I were talking about this a few weeks ago actually, but when I talk about one of the biggest things that I think I got out of Chexy, or that I'll be most happy to keep post Chexy, is my ability to manage, just because you deal with like bullshit every day, and like really hard things happen that are often out of your control, and your like general level to just sustain those things, I think, changes, and your ability, like that threshold, I think, for pain, or your ability to manage stress, like I think just that new normal gets you to the level where like the things that used to phase you wouldn't phase you. So I think the light at the end of the tunnel for people that are early is that is something that can be managed. I mean, listen, I'm not a doctor. I'm sure I've not done this well. You got to sleep well and work out and eat well, and those are all important things. Like. No question, but being able to remind yourself why you're doing it is important, because the day-to-day can be very tough. And so this again comes back to the hiring piece, where making sure you're surrounding yourself with really good people, and when you start the company, it's maybe 2 or 3 people, right? But making sure you're doing the due diligence, even if it's a buddy, to make sure, like, is this somebody who's going to be able to stay excited with me and pump me up. And I think we've been very lucky, myself, and when I think of Lisa as my co-founder, like having co-founders is so valuable, because you're not going to be 100% every day. There are going to be days where your side of the business is just getting hit hard, and you need a moment to take a breath and step outside, and that's where you can have your kind of co-founder step up and be like, okay, I can be the excited parent for today, and it's definitely a give and take, but I mean, it kind of comes with the job, and you've got to recognize that what you're doing is important, and like I said, being able to back up every once in a while and remind yourself like why you're putting yourself through this pain. It's important, because otherwise, what are you doing? And it's easy to kind of get lost in the day-to-day of like, it's hard, it sucks. So most of the time it sucks. Like the vast majority, like it's fun when we get out and we talk about it like this, and it's like, oh, the team's amazing, and we go for drinks and that stuff's great. The day-to-day most of the time is like, this sucks and it's hard, and then you'll talk to, I was on the Go train the other day, and I had a user talking about Chexy because I was coding on my laptop, and you have these kind of moments that will pull you back into like why you're doing it, and makes a difference. And long-winded answer, obviously, to stress management, but I think knowing why you're doing it is critical, and having that expectation that like it's going to be hard just level sets yourself for I'm not surprised by this being hard. We were talking about your buddy who does Ironmans, for example. Like if you walk up to the plate there and haven't done the training, think like, oh, this is going to be great, like you're going to die, like you're not going to get through the swim and get cooked, right? But if you've gone through that preparation to know, like, I know this day is going to be a terrible day, right? It just sets a different level of expectation for yourself to get through it, right?
Awesome. You alluded to this a little bit just with your Go Train story, but
sure.
Who is like the target demographic for Chexy? Who are you looking to kind of bring on, help what their credit score is?
It's a great question. So, early days, we started very targeted. So there's a bit of education with our platform, of course. We charge a service fee. You got to have the right credit card for it to make sense. And so when we initially launched, we wanted to make sure that we were hyper targeting people that we knew would love us. We knew we weren't ready for GA. I think we're still figuring out our way towards GA. But early on, that was the churning community on Reddit. That's where we started. So these are the guys that have 15 credit cards and they're ripping through new ones to get the welcome bonuses, and they love travel, and we've got users who've got spreadsheets on which card to use for what, and guys that are obsessed, and it's amazing. But we knew right away, this is for them, and they would be psyched to use this. And so our kind of early adopters, our early champions were those folks. As we've grown, of course, our goal has been to get kind of more GA, and so we've found our target to be that kind of middle to high income. You probably got a decent credit card. You think about travel and you think about points, and that reward kind of makes sense for you. But as we continue to move, and continue to grow through Canada, no secret that our goal is to become a household name like most companies. We want to be, we want to be top of wallet for most Canadians. We want to be part of that conversation. And so while we focused on being the best way to pay rent initially, we're now focusing on the best way to, pay your bills. We want to be the best way to move money. We want to, that when we talk about the longer term strategy of Chexy, we want to be, involved in all that kind of money movement, network in person, whatever it may be. We want to be there, and we want to be able to provide a good solution to people.
Those are fantastic aspirations.
Yeah.
Talking about aspirations, what does success look like for you?
Yeah.
Is there at this point I'm going to be successful when I don't know, bring this company public? Is there a milestone you're looking for, or is it?
Yeah, I think maybe two questions there. Of course, there are milestones, right? There are always things that we look forward to. Again, this is, I'm sure, not new coming from me by any means, but I think that goalpost moves, when you talk about success all the time. And you have things that you work for months. When I think of those early fundraisers, and it becomes less of a celebration and more like a thank God that's over. And you recognize, I think the reason that goalpost moves is you recognize that often these milestones are really just you're getting to the start of the next race, right? So when you're talking about raising a seed round, raising a Series A, you get there and the money's in your bank, and it's okay, well, now there's a new set of expectations. Now I'm looking for the B, I'm looking for the C. There's another level to what you're doing. So I think for me personally, it's shifted a lot from, maybe a number or an exit. I think if those things come, fantastic. Really for me, I'm focused on, and Lisa, we connect on this a lot, building a business that's legacy. I want to build something that's here long after I'm done with it or I'm involved. I want this to be something that, makes a difference for people. And so I think that idea of legacy has become a lot more important to me. I've got an almost 2-year-old daughter, and so I think that shifted, more my mentality on time, I think more than success, but it reframes the way that you think about your day-to-day, right? And so starting to think about did I do something important? Did I do something impactful? I think, the money comes and the money goes, and you're gonna have opportunities to be able to make those kind of things happen. But I think that's probably the most dangerous goalpost, every podcast or book you guys have read, right? You get the thing, you sell the company, you win the Oscar, whatever, and then
what's next?
What's next, right? And so, I think luckily we've been too busy to really back up and think about what does that look like? And so for us, we're always just focused on the next big milestones in the business and what we're excited about. And again, I think it's something that I've got to learn to do better, I'm sure, is figure out how do you stop and take a moment. And we do an okay job of it because we force ourselves to, and we do it a lot for the team, of course, but try to take the time to recognize this was a big deal. We worked a long time to get to where we are, and making sure that you're celebrating those milestones is important. So again, I know it's a super beat around the bush answer to your question. That's my way of getting out of it, but I think that post moves all the time.
So exciting. I'm excited right now.
Yeah, I love that. My goal today is for you guys to be hyped up, right? That's my goal.
Do you have any credit card debts? I feel like I should ask this.
You
do
know,
this all the time.
I was not the churner prior to the company. So there are folks in our company who are much more advanced. They help me book my flights and tell me the best way.
Points.
Yeah, I think the hack is to get on Chexy and find what you can pay through the company,
okay.
right? That's the best way to do it. So we got a newsletter. We got a lot of resources, and it's one of those things, right, where if you know how to play the game like a lot of folks do, like, you're not paying for business ever, you get the lounge access, you get to travel a little bit differently, and it makes a difference. Like, I've had the chance to do some nice trips, and when you get on the plane and turn left, it's a hard turn right after that, so you get used to these different levels of expectation. But I'll send you some stuff.
I like that sales pitch ever.
Yeah, I know, like,
turn left.
I know, like, signing up for my own credit cards, it was like reading through everything to get like the welcome bonus and this, that, and the other. It's like, I gotta spend a fair chunk of change. Do you find that, like, people paying their rent is like
that was the biggest driver at the start, right? It's like, I need to figure out how to spend $10K on this card over the next 3 months, but I'm spending $2,500 a month downtown anyway, right? And so to be able to put that on Chexy, like, I think that's really where we got our start, was folks trying to hit the welcome bonus that were in that churning community, and recognizing that, like, we can help you hit that spend so much faster. And I think what's nice is, obviously, there are other features to the platform. We've got a lot of great, like, bill management, and we do automated recurring and all kinds of stuff. And so naturally the product is pretty sticky, which is nice. And so, of course, there's an initial pain to getting onboarded to any new platform, any new company, but we found that once users came, like, they stayed, which is nice, right? So that rewards piece was a great foot in the door, but then it also becomes a great way to manage your bills, and we can put a lot of those things on autopilot for you. So we're finding those features to be super exciting as well for users.
And I'm sure for, like, housing providers, knowing, like, the tenants are on this, like, system, that they're reliable and they're paying for everything is, like, a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I think especially with Canada, you guys again can probably speak to this more, but our real estate market, especially when it comes to rentals, is very different than, like, the U.S., right? We're not heavy institutional. Obviously, we've got a couple big players, but I think we're like 70%, I believe the stat, 70-75% still mom and pop. Right, so these are people that have one, maybe two rentals, like a lot of these kind of single tenancy platforms. And so for them, yes, some of them maybe had a bookkeeper, right? They're maybe tracking it in Excel, but a lot of these guys was, if I forgot to check my RBC statement, like, I don't know if I got paid, and if I'm not paying attention, I find out 2 weeks after the fact, right? And so we were able to build a lot of these tools to make that process more seamless. And as we've been able to scale, our focus is, again, still trying to serve those customers, of course, but scale to these larger players. We, recently signed a partnership with Fitzrovia, which is super exciting, and we're able to use these large landlords, for distribution, which is always exciting for us. We get to get our name out there, but we help to modernize these platforms for them as well, right? You have a new way to offer a great new incentive to your tenants, like Toronto. Again, you guys will know this well, but rents has been going down for the last little bit. There's been a bit of an exodus out of the city, and so these large condo buildings and property managers are fighting to offer exciting new incentives. And so everybody's seen the first month rent free. Like, of course that one's gone around, but there's been a lot of talk in these communities about how do you really provide additional value. And so our partnership with Aeroplan has been super exciting, and the land, large property managers are very excited about being able to offer things like that to their tenants. So it's been cool. It's been cool to have that side of it, and I think we're very early stages in building that out and seeing what that would look like in Canada, but it's definitely a big focus for us through 2026 and 27.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Really amazing.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
You answered just about every single one
I
of my
love
questions
it.
perfectly.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm glad I passed the test.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic.
You would be hired.
I appreciate that. I
thought it was supposed to go the other way. I thought you were investing or signing up.
I will. I'll probably sign up now. I mean, I was signed up before.
Yeah, that's what I would expect that, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Amazing, yeah. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, it's awesome. Excited to hear the next guest.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Cool.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, I love it.